Hey lads, this is just a quick down and dirty for the new implementation of how we're going to utilize respawns at height or on carriers and ships and stuff like that. It's all in the document under respawn modules and settings, so that's the normal respawn modules that we're now using, and then you've got respawning at height, which is the additional one. So it's here, it's got some pictures and stuff step by step, but due to sort of how complex it can be, or how daunting it can be, I'm just going to make a quick video covering off on it very quickly. So alright, so these are the modules and the triggers, and a quick explanation as to what happens. So essentially, when someone respawns at this location, they're going to obviously appear in this trigger, and that trigger is then going to teleport them over to the carrier or the ship that you've designated the coordinates in the trigger here. Alright, so we'll go through that in a minute, but that's effectively what happens. So for a split second, they'll be on the ground here, and then they'll teleport over to their location. Alright, so going from step by step, essentially you get your carrier or your ship or whatever you want to use. So this is the USS Freedom, which is the modern carrier. This is the LPD, which is the one that's got this big open back in here. It's got the helipad on there, etc, etc. So that's another common modern one that we use. This one here is the one that we've been using recently, which is still pretty good. It is a modern based one, but it's the one that's got the big opening door at the back and the landing bays. It's also got plenty of room in the middle, as well as the elevators actually work. So this is one that I've actually preferred to use recently, and yeah, so it's one that I would suggest using. Okay, so what you're going to do is essentially you're going to set up your HQ. So say we're using this carrier as our HQ, or our main fighting, or correction, yeah, HQ, fuck it, let's go with that. So it's our main HQ. We're going to place down our call signs wherever we want. So I've just grabbed 1-1 here. You're going to place them down with their arsenals, their signs, etc, etc, and you could have Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, etc, etc in here. Then you might put 1-0 up here, and then obviously hotel probably on the deck with all their helicopters and stuff. Right? So you're going to lay it out as you would normally with HQ. The only thing you're not going to do is you're not going to place down the respawn marker at this location. Alright, as I mentioned before, the respawn is going to be on the ground, and I'll explain that in a little bit more. So you're going to place that down. Alright, once you've done that, you've set up all your area and whatnot, your HQ, you're going to move over and conduct or create the spawn location. Alright, now a thing to note is that you may wish to do this for every call sign, which will take a lot of time, to be honest. So my probably recommendation would be to have it per carrier or per ship. So like we did with the World War II mission, where it was 1-1 carrier, the D-Day mission, it was 1-1 carrier and 1-0 carrier. That's probably going to be the best bet for you. It just will save you a lot of hassle, a lot of time. You may want to create one for, let's say, this deck, and then maybe this deck up here with hotel, to save them having to run all the way up. But yeah, that's completely up to you. So you might just want to do a central location. Say this can is a central spawn point. Then you would create it here. Okay. I'm going to show you creating it in front of a section, or at a section's arsenal, because that's trickier per se, or you're going to have to do that more, whereas if you just do it once, you just have to do the central location, and then everyone can run to their arsenals from there. But obviously make sure you have the signs and everything indicating whose arsenal is which, so it makes it nice and easy. Alright, so what you're going to do is once you've placed down your HQ or created your HQ with all your characters and whatnot, you're then going to create this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy this. I'm going to paste it over here, and this will be our fresh one per se. So you can copy and paste these from, this is actually from the template, so you can copy and paste this from the template, and that can be your sort of starting ground. So you've got all these settings as they are. So respawn module, that's part of the example. So I'm going to just say we'll do 1-1 or we'll just do 1 1, so PHQ. Right, so that's it for the arsenal. Inventory, blue 4, show to everyone, etc. Right, then you're going to create or copy and paste your trigger. Okay, and this is going to be 2 by 2 by 2 effectively, so it's just 2 meters by 2 meters and 2 meters high. Alright, the reason it's 2 meters high is so that you don't have it, because it's default -1, and that means it will like shoot up into the sky. Okay, so anyone that is a player that moves into this blue zone will get teleported over to the carrier. So in case Hotel accidentally fly over it, I've just made it 2 meters high to help prevent that. Now you're going to have type none, activation any player, activation type present. Pretty self-explanatory as what those are. Repeatable is so it can be fired multiple times or used multiple times. If you don't have that ticked, it will only activate once and that'll shut off. Alright, condition, all of this is in the document obviously, but this is what needs to go into condition. Right, this essentially says that any player that enters this blue zone, this will happen. Okay, or that's the trigger of what will happen. On activation, now this is player, so player who enters the trigger, set position at sea level. Okay, so that's what that means, at sea level. This is then the grid coordinates, so we've got the X, we've got the Y, and we've got the Z. Okay, so left, right, up, down, pretty much is the best way to think of that. So that's your grid coordinate, okay? And that's what we need to set and find to allow us to spawn at that particular height and grid coordinate, okay? So, once you've placed down that trigger, we're going to have to go and find these 3 values. Right, so the first one we're going to get is the X and the Y, which is these 2 here. And we will find the Z in a minute, as you'll see. Right, so to get the X and the Y is pretty straightforward, right? So what I would do is I would personally select probably the most central player of the, or wherever. If you really wanted, you can use a can or just simply any object and place it wherever you want. So wherever I place this can, if I log this position, this is where people will teleport to, okay? So I'm going to use a character, as that's what I've done as an example in the document. So I want everyone to teleport for this call sign, so 1 1. I want them to teleport to where this guy's standing. Okay, obviously they're not going to be standing there because, as with the new system, it actually deletes or kills your guy, and then when you select your respawn, it obviously respawns you as a new person at the start of the mission. So this will be empty, like these guys technically won't be here when you spawn in, alright? So don't worry about running into things or whatever. It's just a good reference point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select old mate here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to log and go position to clipboard, right? And nothing pops up, but you just have to trust that it's obviously done it. Right, so now I'm going to scoot over to my trigger. Okay. Open that up. Now I'm just going to paste it down here so you can see what it looks like, which is that. Okay, and obviously it looks very familiar to this. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to take this, you can copy or cut it, and you can just paste that into there, making sure that you've got the bracket on each side and you've got the semicolon there. Alright, so this is your X, that is the Y. Now that's the X and the Y of that character that we selected. Okay, the 55 here is the level at which his feet are at, pretty much, is the best way to explain that. Okay, so he is 55 meters above from the bottom of the seabed. Now, the next step of getting the at sea level depth, or height I should say, is a lot more consistent than getting or going off the bottom of the sea level. I don't know why, it is. So I've been fucking around with it for hours and have finally figured out that at sea level is far better. Well, for now anyway, until I discover a better way. So these 2 values will stay. Okay? But now we have to find the sea, or the correct at sea level height that we want. Okay? So we're going to take note of that. We can even copy, go into our calculator, paste that in, alright, because you're going to need to do a calculation. So OK. Make sure you hit OK, because obviously it won't save if you hit cancel. Now, so we've got this current, like his current height, and that's what we want him to spawn at. Right, so but what we have to do is we have to get the sea level that is directly below him. Now, the reason I say directly below him is because if you maneuver him to, say, here, then the sea level is going to be different to what it was back here. So I would strongly recommend that you just drop him down directly where he is. Okay, to do that, left alt, left click and drag down. Sometimes it can be finicky if you see like this. So there you go, perfect example. That's just due to your camera angle. Okay, so I would just undo, make sure it's exactly where I want it. Position my camera a bit different. Generally looking down slightly onto stuff is a better option. See, now it's nice and smooth. Keep going. Alright, cool. So now we're in, obviously, the bottom of the carrier. So what you want to do is also ensure that you've got toggle surface snapping and toggle vertical mode turned on. And what that will do is, as you see when I get close to him being at the top, see how it snaps to the sea level there? That's what we want. Okay, so we're then going to, well, there's two ways you can do it. You can do the same thing and go log position to clipboard, or you can simply double click on him and then get this Z value here. Okay, this one here is rotation, so 268 degrees. This is his height. Okay, so as you can see, 47 meters below, above the bottom of the sea. All right, so I've just copied that, hit OK. I move out of my carrier. Now, of course, I go through the fucking thing. Sweet. Yep. Right, and I'm going to, oh, correction, I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to go minus and paste in that value. And now we have the height that he should be spawning at. Okay, so you've taken the height of the location, you've taken the height of the sea level, and we're working out the difference. Okay, so we're finding out how far from the top of the sea level it is to the location where you want him to spawn. Now this can obviously be whatever, whatever it is. So let's say, for example, I want him to spawn on the top of the carrier. It's going to be different. Okay, so you're going to have to calculate that for different locations on the carrier. Alright, so because it's 7.75, I'm going to round it up to just 8. Alright, the reason for that is because 7.75 might be just underneath the carrier floor. So it's always better to go a little bit higher just to ensure that he's not going to be like stuck in the ground. If you really wanted, you could probably go like 8.1. But hopefully this will work, and I'll just go to 8.0. Okay, so just round it up to sort of the closest full number. Alright, so once we've done that, we've actually done. Okay, so that's what we're all sorted with old mate here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag him back up to show you guys that it should work, and hopefully it does. Alright, so to recap, setup HQ, you've organized the respawn module, the trigger, you've made sure that these settings and scripts are in it. You then find your X and Y using the left click. You can do it for anything, by the way. So left click, log position to clipboard, or any object I should say, or even your mouse actually. If I go like that and go log, and you can log the position of your mouse as well. Very cool. You've entered your X and Y. You've then got the height of the floor or the location that you want him to spawn at. You've got the location of the sea level, and then you've entered that into here. You've done the calculation and you've entered it into here. Alright, so now if I test into multiplayer, so you'll have to test in multiplayer on the editor. So for those who aren't aware, to do this, sorry, I'll just go back a step. So you go into play, because normally this down here is play in single player. Okay, you can actually test in a makeshift dedicated server and go play in multiplayer. Okay, Now it will ask, there'll be a step before this that will have an option to select LAN or internet. It's got a name and a password and stuff. I honestly don't put passwords or anything on it because like someone has to load in with the exact mods at the exact time, blah blah blah. So you go internet and then you tick the UNPN, which is effectively like an automatic port forwarding for your DEDI. Now it doesn't really matter if you do that, but I just do it to have it as close to representing a dedicated server as I can. In saying that, when there can be some differences between the dedicated server and this template, or sorry, this practice here. So even though it might work here, it might not work on the DEDI. So that's why it's important to get your missions out early so that we can actually test it on the DEDI. Alright, you're going to select a player. While this loads, obviously I'll explain a little bit more. So as you'll see in a minute, this will allow you to respawn again and again and again like on the DEDI. In single player, if you hit respawn, you will just die, the mission will end. Okay, so you can't test to see if any of your respawns are working, that can be annoying. If you place down multiple of these, or multiple respawn markers, then you'll be able to obviously select the first one when you load in, as we have been in the past couple of weeks, and then you'll be able to hit escape and hit respawn and just test the next one, the next one, the next one. Okay, I'll show you hopefully an example of the other three that I've already put in there to demonstrate that. Alright, cool. So as you see, we've got our 1-1 spawn location here, and you've got the three examples that I've put there. Okay, so we're going to go this one. So once I select this, it's going to correction, it's going to spawn me at this location. I'm going to hit the trigger, and I'm going to be teleported out to the aircraft carrier somewhere out here. Hopefully. Let's see how we go. See? Bang, like that. So it's like a split second, and it will move them straight to this location. As you can see, I was on the spot here where my character, or correction, where I've logged that position. Alright. So, let's say you want to test the other ones that you've done. Escape, respawn, yes. And if you did that in single player, it would end the game. So, there you go. So, it's got an example of that. So I'll go the carrier spawn. So this one I've set to the top of the carrier, I believe. Nope, disregard. It's to the middle. Oh, actually, this is the LPD, so I'll fix that up so it's the correct name. But you can see I've put us on the second level of the LPD, which is the other modern landing craft, or sorry, the ship that's got the landing craft bay at the rear. Alright, so I must have made it... So the LPD will be the top of the carrier. See? So a quick split second, then bang, teleports me onto the top of the carrier. Okay? So it's not the most awesome, smooth procedure, and it's probably not the easiest, but I think it's just a little bit better than having that flagpole, how we had in that World War II mission. So it just automatically, like, it's normal, it's what the guys are used to seeing and selecting their call sign, etc., etc. And it also prevents them accidentally moving to the wrong carrier, blah, blah, blah. It's just simply they select the 1-1 or the 1-0 carrier or their call sign, and it automatically teleports them to be right in front of their arsenal. Now, like I said, if you want to go to the effort of logging all the separate locations for each call sign, then that's awesome. If you can't be fucked, then I certainly understand just having that spawn location, like in the center here, everyone spawns in here, moves to their arsenals individually. Alright, but once you sort of get a bit of practice, you will be able to knock those out individually pretty quickly. Okay. Alright, that's all for that, gents. If you do have any questions, hit me up, obviously. Hopefully this document, or these instructions will be a bit clearer now, and should help you if you forget, or you can just rewatch this video, whatever. Alright, cool. That's it. Thanks, gents. Bye.